selling the value of coming in for an appointment and they actually get 90% of those referrals, I think we'll be surprised at the number of referrals that we get sent to us and people never get in our schedules or never show up. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to look at a metric like that.
So are you also measuring those new patients who call, but that front office is able to say, go to this clinic, so they're still within Rock Island? Because I look at that as a positive, not a negative on that clinic.
That referral would go to that other clinic and then it would be measured at that other clinic.
So it would be, yeah, because it'll.
So I see a positive at that clinic, I
Yes.
just don't want it to be a negative.
It's not a negative for your clinic because the place of service will still be that clinic that they go to, right? Also, you know that report better than I do.
Yes, no, I agree with what you're saying. If you went to another clinic, then they'd be 1-for-1 for that clinic.
But Marty's clinic wouldn't be penalized because they referred it.
No.
So if they came to Ingersoll and they were then seen at Ankeny, the place of service would be defaulted to Ankeny. So that would look like it was a referral to Ankeny. What you won't get is you won't get how many are you scheduling at another clinic. You won't have that, but it won't penalize you if somebody goes elsewhere. Correct.
But let me give you guys a quick example, and I'll throw myself under the bus with this. So, we have care coordinators at ORA that are scheduling PT visits for us, and we had a snafu with some unexpected illness and things where someone was out, and the referrals were kind of mismanaged during that time. So by the time we kind of dig into it, there were literally a stack in my hand of 42 referrals that hadn't been called since Tuesday, and it was Thursday. And you guys can do, the rough math is our top line revenue from one patient is probably about $1,000. So literally in that moment, I'm holding $42,000 in my hand. And if we captured, 75% of those people, we still lost $10,000 because of that little mistake. So we might say, well, yeah, we got most of them in, here's 8 or 10 I couldn't get called. That cost us $10,000. So I think, I know our front desk hasn't even really been given that mentality to treat every referral with that much value. And I think Rachel's been awesome at helping build the process. And I'll talk more about it when I'm later on, but I think this could be a great thing for us to measure the front office.
If that's a front office metric that you're trying to figure out how effective your front office is, if they're not calling referrals, are they going to be likely to put those in as the case, or would it still sit in the desk and not put it?
Part of the training process.
Okay.
Part of the training is back. So we had a clinic. So we had a clinic last year that we knew that there were some front office issues. Okay, it was not going well. So we sent Joyce out. Right, Joyce went out there, and to try to clean some up. And here, what Joyce found was in a drawer was a stack of referrals that they had perceived busyness or just lack of engagement in the front office. Decided that we're just not going to call on them. We're busy enough. Just threw them in a drawer. Okay. So Joyce kicked ass, and I think the month previous, their average probably was about 120 new patients per month. I'll say. Okay. The next month they had 161 new patients, just from that. Okay. And what's sickening is how long had that been going on? Okay. So over the last year, how many have we lost? From this standpoint. So Rachel's doing an awesome job. We have overwhelmed her and probably made her life miserable by how much we're asking her to do. But I think she's starting to kind of have that. So Rachel has the regional leads, okay? That a lot of now that go to the day-to-day stuff are going to answer the questions. So she can step back and be more a leader of the front office and look at process, okay? And just to follow up, I think most of you know, but from my standpoint, okay, I've done the same thing looking at regional leads. So Debbie is overseeing the Quad City area. Wendy Blumenhoff is overseeing the Clinton area. Luke is overseeing the Peoria area. And Dave is overseeing the Des Moines area. Okay, I'm still overseeing Waterloo, Waverly, up there, and a couple other clinics that just kind of fall outside of a true region. But that group is going to be able to have better focus and better resources to you as a manager versus me trying to oversee 30 clinics. Okay, so we're going to look at really improving process and improving our practice as we go on.
If I could just jump in a little bit with kind of the why of this. So I think we're talking about process and we talk about a metric to measure that, right? the why still, the communication here is, you know, what disappoints me the most is that front office person didn't care enough about the people we were taking care of to call them to try to get them in for us to help them. You know, I mean, that's the part that you sit there and go, you know, that's why. And so when we talk about employee engagement, and Kevin, to your question, this is one of the biggest challenges we have as a leadership team, and we don't know the answer to this, is how many of these metrics do we want to put on a performance? You know, part of us look and go, well, this is our performance value. Look at it, it's just all right there. It's what we're doing. But when you start putting incentives for pay and things around a metric, the ability, the propensity of people to manipulate that metric for their benefit becomes greater. So now you have to have checks and balances in place, rather than just saying, man, we're here to take care of people. And this is how we take care of people. And this is how it looks when we take care of people. And this is how we know. I mean, and not directly tie it to compensation removes some of that conflict of interest that occur. And again, we're not sure where we're at with all that, but your point is a very valid one, is as soon as you start making people hit a lever and getting a reward, they may start hitting that lever, but man, we don't want to, especially in the business we're in, we don't want them to forget about the why. Why is it that we're doing this in the first place? So again, metrics to show them, hey, you're doing a great job of it, is there, or help coach them to do a good job, which is what Nicole's going to help us with. But having them manipulate a metric so that it looks like we're doing a good job is certainly not the intent of what we're trying to do.
Any questions on that? Thoughts, comments? Okay, so how do we get there? So talent, okay? We've got the talent. I mean, everybody here knows, and where's Emily? Emily and I, last Friday we spent doing St. Ambrose interviews, and it's always kind of a fun exercise, because last year was 16 of them, this year we only had 7. You know, but you get a lot of questions, and you get several students that come through, and what have you heard about Rock Valley? What do you know? And they talk about, you know, listening to Mike, you know, talk on and on and on in his lectures, or they did a clinical, you know, just how everybody gets along. It's a team atmosphere, it's collaborative. People are talking about patients, you know, all that kind of stuff. But you know, the question that we've been getting more is what do we like about Rock Valley, or what is it that keeps us at Rock Valley? Why have I stayed here for 20 some odd years? Why is Emily here for as long as she's been? And the answer comes back to the people. Okay, you have great people with a common vision, and they're very talented at what they do. So we have the talent, right? Tools. We've got several tools. We've got more tools at our disposal than we probably know what to do with, right? Okay.
We got talent. Flip.
We do have talent, and more than just clinical talent.
Just won't go away.
It's mandatory in every presentation.
That's like Greg. That's like burned into the master PowerPoint that can never leave.
That was just the start of it. That was just a warm up for his 40-meter dash. I got that on video. If anyone wants to see that, great. I had nothing to drink by that time. And we're still drunk.
So talking about tools, okay? So within BMS, there's a million reports. I've shown you guys several of those. But we're going to show you something that's new today, okay? And I want you guys to come up with a name, because we sat in the office the other day, and Horsfield couldn't even come up with something on that. So we're going to call it the file to be named today, right? I want this to be the name of the file that you guys, as soon as you see the subject header, boom, let's open that up and take a look at it, okay? Because here's the reality, guys. I know you're all busy, everybody's busy, but there are a few important emails that need to be opened up and followed up, okay? Plans of care. Read your emails and make sure everybody does their plans of care, okay? If we don't have a plan of care, okay, we're not compliant with Medicare, okay? And get your staff to read their emails, all right? So if that stuff comes through, pay attention to it, all right? I know it's tough. I will be the first to admit that there's emails that I get that I ignore or put on the backside too, but there's a few that are really important, okay? So we want this one to be helpful for you. So let me just exit out of this. I'll show you what it is. So thanks to Rachel and kind of what she's done is we're looking at sending this report out. So the idea of this report is we would run this as late as we can on Friday, okay? And we would put it into a format for you that would be fairly easy, okay? We do have a little bit of technology issues we have to work out because most of you do not have the Excel version that allows you to do slicers, what this is. So we're gonna be able to sort your clinics, to get to your clinic. But this is gonna be, it's gonna be a big file. We're just gonna put all the clinics on there, okay? You can see everybody's clinics if you want to. You don't need to. There's no reason to, okay? I'm sure some of you may, some of you may not. All right. But the idea behind this is that we can do the following. So this clinic advanced schedule, that is the report from the master appointment list, okay, that is going to show you, so today, okay, this will be how many patients and new evals do we have scheduled for next week, okay? So this one is defaulted to Crow right now, okay, and don't get too caught up in the data because we ran this on a Wednesday for this time. But as of right now, for next week, Crow Valley has 826 patients scheduled. Okay? They have 38 initial evals scheduled. Okay? So we talk oftentimes about leading and lagging indicators. Here's your lead indicator for how busy are we going to be next week, or do we have a chance to reach our budget? Okay? So Eric can probably rattle off what he needs on a weekly basis to get to that, but probably close to about 900 visits, okay? So you can see they got 826 scheduled for 900, right? Evals, probably need about, is it 85 or so? 85 evals per week. Right now we're at 38, okay? So does that tell Eric something about what next week looks like? Okay? It says, hey, we're a little short on evals, right? What are some things that he can do at that point that he sees this report? He gets that on a Friday afternoon. Some of you may not open until early Monday morning. The expectation is you would look at this for sure by Monday morning, or that Monday morning when you get there. So what could Eric do?
Make sure there's no secret drawer with the bells in it.
Free beer for Anna.
What else?
Maybe run a report from the week prior to see if there were any master cancellations. So look at who fell off last week, who we could get back on. Maybe not for evals, but for visits.
Remind your staff if any of your patients that have been complaining about any other problems that could
Yep.
evaluate them.
Yep.
Call up some of the docs and take them out for lunch that weekend.
Jordan's usually at Central Standard at 4:30 on a Friday. Usually,
Gotta get this thing moving there.
that's where he gets his marketing done.
If you're talking about just daily visits, you can have your therapist look at their load level, see how many patients have not been discharged yet,
Yep.
not completed discharge. Have them call, find out where those patients are.
So you get kind of where I'm going with this, right? Okay, you kind of know what it's going to be like. So a little bit of advanced lead of, hey, what's next week going to look like? Okay. Now I'll scroll down on this, and this is the Crow's the biggest, so that's why we have that. So in addition, we've now created an advanced schedule for the therapist. Okay. All right. So let's do a little math here. So 10.5 visits per day for a full-time therapist. It's going to work 5 days next week. Comes up to what? 52.5, right? And we have a 90% arrival rate. Okay. How many patients does a full-time therapist need to schedule in order to achieve their 10.5 visits per day? The answer is 58. I did the math right. So with a 90% arrival rate, the therapist has to have about 58 patients in their schedule for them to say, yep, I'm on track to see 10.5 visits per day next week. Okay? So this report, if you click on your clinic, is now going to do the advanced schedule for your therapists.
Does anyone want to push back on that? Are we still, because again, we got to have complete buy-in that this is a reasonable expectation. So that's your full-time therapist, a 40-minute schedule. When you look at their schedule for next week, they've got 2 openings in it. Okay? 2 spots that are still green, the rest are full. Is that a reasonable expectation for us to ask of level 2, and senior therapists.
There'd be 60, there's theoretically 60 open
60 spots, right?
60 spots.
60 spots in your schedule. So you got 2 openings and the rest are full. 90% are going to arrive. You're going to see 52 and a half. I don't know how we're going to see the half a person, but
Lunch.
is everybody still on board that that's like we can still accomplish our mission and people can work here for 30 years, feel like they did a great job at that pace? Okay.
So I'm on board, and let me ask a question though. So Eric, what would you say to someone that said, well, I only have 2 spots open on Friday night for next week in my schedule? What happens if we have 10 walk-downs on Monday? What happens? That's not my spots, so I'm asking this because I don't really know how that works.
What would you guys say? That's how he did his business. You guys are the one that's managing it.
Because that does happen, and they just get worked in. I mean, the therapists usually don't really push. I mean, they don't really. I seldom get that. Oh, I'm incapable of seeing that in my open spot. You know, they will. You know, like gripe a little bit about saying, well, I don't have any follow-ups, and that's where we have our PTAs. There's a lot more nuance to some of this because obviously you have new grads that can't see insurances, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to. It's more than just the numbers. You have to be cognizant of your capacity for clinic. What they do.
Deanna's got an answer to it.
No answers, more questions. What percentage of our therapists are not level 2 or 3?
What percentage are not level 2 or 3? I don't have that percentage.
So if our 10.5 is related to level 2 and 3, what's our expectation for the level 1 again?
Well, that's what I talked about. That we would probably look at. So level 1 therapist, I'll tell you guys, first 6 months average is probably around 9 visits a day because of credentialing. Second 6 months is probably around 9.5 to 10 visits per day, right? Now we've always said that a level 1 therapist, it's a caseload that facilitates learning, so there's not a number on it, okay? But
Is that accurate?
What's that?
That is
Level
the
one?
accurate data?
That's what I ran last year, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The reason she's asking that is because we've been together 3 months and I've already been promoted to a level 1.
What should I expect?
But I'm trying. I really am trying.
So those are numbers that I ran because that was a residency thing. They were asking kind of what do the residents typically see. So I ran that. I think I ran that for 2 years previously, and that was the average of that year that I looked at. Okay.
Eric, my answer, I guess, or a thought on this would be, that's not a question I've thought about until when you posed it. So I look at like with some of the clinics, when you know how many evals you average per week, right, and you got a sense, again, you can work that into this number. Again, the advantage of this advanced scheduling rate is the fact that in the past we always looked at the end of the week, how many patients did you see? Well, at that point, the horse has left the barn and there's nothing I can do about it, right? And so that's like the airplane that's taken off with an empty seat. That revenue's lost forever. I can't get it back. Where if I, as a therapist, I'll give you a practical example of this. I had an email 2 days ago from a former patient of mine that said, hey, colleague in my office is having some back pain. I'd love for him to come in and see you. So I go, knowing we're working on this, and these guys had showed me, so Eric had sent me the report, I go in and I look at like the rate, and I'm like, okay, I want him to see this therapist. I look, that therapist already got 65 people scheduled next week. I look at the next therapist, they already got 2. And I'm going through the list like, okay, who am I going to get them in with? And in my mind, it clicked like, okay, this is how our front office, instead of going and bothering the person that always says yes, who's always the busiest person in the office, really what the front office should do is look at this advanced scheduling rate Monday morning, and when that first referral comes in the door, they know who's got to make up 10 that week, right? And so they should be going to the person who's 10 short instead of the person who's 1 short and saying, hey, you know what, you have the most openings, where would you like me to put this person? They can come between this time and this time. And that should be just kind of standard procedure so that we fill it up. But you're gonna know, you're gonna know after a period of time of looking at this reporting, knowing how it comes out at the end of the week, about how much wiggle room you have in there to fill with new patients to where you're going to meet your metric. And so I think that's something each of you, whether it's a clinic that's getting 80 new patients a week or a clinic that's getting 20 new patients a month, I mean, you're each going to have a different number on how much wiggle room you have to play in that ASR. But now you can at least do something about it and empower the people around you to say, okay, you're 10 short, start calling your active not scheduled list or whatever else might be opportunities.
What do you guys think of that? I mean, this is probably all new to you on that side of it. Do you like it? So a couple things from, if I were sitting
Was that a
here-
yes or no?
I saw one head nod this way, 0 this way. 30s, nothing.
And that's where we wanted to open this up in here for you guys. But one of the things that in my world when I think of how this would be helpful is that I had a therapist at one clinic that was going to be leaving for a while and came up and said, well, we're having a hard time getting my patients seen by everybody else because they're too busy. They say they're seeing 13 visits a day. And I gave her the look like, that's not happening. So I went in and looked, did a fact check, because you can always go do a fact check. And here, yes, they may have had Monday, 12, 13 on Wednesday, 13 on Friday, but then they had 9 on Tuesday, 8 on Thursday. So their average was about 10. But in their mind, they're seeing 13 a day because they had 3 days where they saw that much, right? Okay. So now you can kind of look at the data and say, no, that's not the case. Okay. We can use this data, right now if we look at a couple of the clinics in the Quad City area, we're starting up Northwest and 5 Points. Both Osler did a horrible job at projecting their new patients.
They should have brought my numbers down.
Because they got way more than what we projected. What does that create? It creates some logistical challenges, scheduling and staffing. All right, we can look at this between those two offices. Okay. So the next week, how busy is each office going to be? Do we need to move these people back and forth? Okay, to kind of staff that appropriately so we get those visits in. So we can use that report in a variety of ways. You can look at it from the clinic. How's our clinic going to do next week? And then giving that to your therapist to say, how busy are you going to be next week? Okay. Now, what you'll notice on there is that you don't have days worked or anything on that, but you guys are approving time off. You probably should have a general idea. The therapist knows if I'm only going to be there 4 days, this is how many visits I should have. So I think we're probably, I'm assuming, Nicole, we're leading into your talk by having these conversations and understanding the expectations of where it all should be. Okay.
So let's go back and ask that question again. Do you guys like the concept of this?
Yeah.
Would it be helpful for you to know that every one of your therapists on Friday night or Monday morning knew how many patients they had scheduled for that week compared to what the expectation was?
Randy, I think it'd be nice though if there was a stat package that would integrate days, like if I was working a 4-day week or a 3-day week. Otherwise, it's just a quick picture, but it may not give you accurate data if we have people going to Con Ed courses or they're going to be gone, or otherwise it's just telling you what a typical full staff week would look like. But usually the trouble pops up is when somebody's got a doctor's appointment or they're going to be gone for a day, and that's when we're scrambling trying to get the new evals in. So if they could take into account hours that you're actually there versus your total hours possible. You know what I mean?
Isn't it looking at total visits as far as?
Let's look at total visits that would be potential for a full staff week versus your actual staff week. Because if we've got meetings or something going on and it doesn't count as an actual hour that you're there, does they take that into account?
Well, no. This is just how many patients you have scheduled next week. So the report, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And as we continue to look at, we're talking to BMS about trying to get reports more customized to exactly what it is we're looking for. I don't know if we can get there tomorrow, based on what we can run out of the system. But I think, intuitively, for the couple of the bigger clinics, I think it's hard. But for the majority of our clinics, you guys are going to know. Jason knows when Jeremy's going to be gone. What to expect. So you kind of have a sense of kind of that number. And he's usually gone for 2 weeks scuba diving. So, but I hear you, a good point.
Yeah. Like Eric said, we're talking to BMS because we'd love a dashboard for you guys that's got actual to goal. you know, it's just it's a real snapshot, and it can be, I go to my green, red, yellow, right? So you don't even have to look at the numbers, you can just look at what's red, and those are the metrics that need to move up, and the green, you know, are okay. So we're trying to make that, like Eric said, that, and I'll show you the reason why we can't wait till they're done with what we want them to do, because this stuff has to change quickly, because there's huge opportunity that's walking out the door for us right now. So that'd be a great conversation. For those of you in the larger clinics, when you get the assistant manager roles, this would be a great conversation for you to sit down and say, you know, based on your skill set, which one, who wants to take this one to work on, who wants to take that one, and kind of divvy up some of that, so you got a sense of whoever's taking time off and approving time off and stuff like that might be the one that's the best to manage that scenario.
And so is this going to go down to the clinician level, and that's the number they can look at? Because to me, you know, to Rob's point, you just create the expectation you're going to work that patient in. They're just, that's culture, that's what we got. So you do that. I think the individual therapist can look at that snapshot and say, well, I got 48. You know, I mean, I'm going to be the next one. That's probably going to have to look at it. So is that going to be something that they have access?
So the idea with this is we can do one of two ways. We can send it to all the clinical managers. Then, you know, what currently happens is you guys usually forward on to your staff. Or we can send this report to everybody in the entire organization. Okay, it would take some training on Excel skills, I can guarantee that. But,
So I just think that ownership that they're looking at versus management.
I think there's an expectation that this will be shared with staff somehow, some way, every week. They'd be educated on what it means, what we're looking at, how do you take and get those patients in, okay? So if I'm at 48 for the week, and I know I need to do more, what can I do? I can go look at that, you know, my first thing would be go to that appointment not discharge list, okay? And actively manage those patients and follow up on them, okay? Like Carrie says, following up on somebody that, you know, may have an injury, or send a friend, following up on somebody in the past, going to the front office and saying, hey, okay, I know such and such is a chronic canceller. Can you call them to make sure that they're going to come to their appointment this week? Okay. Or I as a therapist need to do a better job. Also, you know, taking and some clinics are good, but that after that initial evaluation of creating that contract, for lack of a better words, with that patient. Okay. So Rob's my patient. Rob, here's what you got going on. Here's what I see is maybe the diagnosis. Here's what your responsibilities are. For you to get this much better, you have to do this. This is my job, okay? In order to get this done, I think we're gonna end up at this point, right? In order to do that, I need you to see it 3 times a week for 4 weeks, okay? And then in an ideal world, Rob goes and makes that handoff, or I make that handoff of Rob to the front office and say, Rob's gonna be coming in and working on his shoulder. We're gonna schedule him 3 times a week for the next 4 weeks, okay? So we got that patient scheduled out, right? So we're filling our schedule, you know, as we go, right?
I would just recommend you guys, like, take home, I don't know if you have this on the tools. I think take home, like, tomorrow, Monday morning, what I would have a conversation with your staff is schedule all new patients for their entire plan of care. Some of us do that not us, because I don't put myself in that group. Some of you do that very well, okay? I don't do that very well. And I've made a point with Jenny, I'm contract with our front office that I'm gonna be better at that. Know why? Because it costs them a lot of time when they have to schedule my patient every time I see them, okay? If our front offices only have to schedule patients on their new appointment, and we're pretty darn good at predicting their plan of care, that's the only time they ever have to schedule them. And think about how many less trips to the appointment, how many less times they have to go in. Think about how your schedule gets built out over time. Now you're not cramming a bunch of people in because Friday afternoon you realize that you didn't schedule all of your Friday patients for next week and it's already full. I mean, there's so many problems that one thing that solves, that yet, again, even I haven't done as good a job, even though I know it. So that's one thing I just ask you guys to commit to, is talk to your group about doing that. Make your front office just so happy that they can do the reoccurrence and cut down on their scheduling time by, 50%. It would be awesome.
You can kind of monitor that by looking at the difference between the schedule at the start of the week and how many actually came for daily visits, right? And if consistently every week you're adding 30 daily visits on, that probably means trying to get them scheduled out. Right, it's in front office, maybe looking at that, or showing that.
I think if you share it with the whole idea with this is when And we're trying to break down the barriers. What we all see is like 10 and a half's easy. Man, if I just got 10 and a half patients a day, that's like a really easy day, right? I mean, we'd all look at that. But we're like, okay, how are we not there? What are the barriers? Why aren't we getting there? And this is some of the things we're talking through, because what we do then is we cut down on the frequency of visits, right? We start getting that self-monitoring. So now my schedule's full next week. I know that on Monday, I'm only going to schedule people once a week instead of, I know that better care would be twice a week, but I don't have the room. So if we schedule this out, the next step of this is to look at how often are we scheduling our active list, and is that appropriate? If not, then that's when we bring on new staff. When you guys go to Eric or Deb or Wendy or Dave and say, hey, you know what, I see people are starting to cut down. We have more appointments in the week than we should, and it's been 3 weeks, it's been 4 weeks now. I think we need to add an FTE or an half an FTE. That's what we'd love the conversation going, so that we can, we always got to build a little bit, but if we can build systems where the fluctuations are more minimal, people are going to perceive that as working less hard, even though they're seeing more patients consistently. Like Eric said, the 13s and 9s turn into 10 and a halves, and that seems easier, even though it's more patients.
Mike, have you been doing that for when you're there? Have you scheduled your patients?
I actually just started.
Jordan, have they been doing it more?
Yeah, I mean, we see such a high number of post-ops, we try to at least get them out 2 or 3 weeks, not the entire course of care, but at least those first.
Right, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate with you, Mike, but I'm thinking of like our staff at Valley View Drive. So, yes, I try to schedule my patients on at least 2 weeks, but if I schedule my patients out for 6 weeks for their course of care, the number of patients that I have scheduled on 20s, I'm going to fill my schedule pretty quick because they're going to take a full spot. So that leads Joyce to then call me, which again takes me away from patients where I'm sitting on the phone with her saying, can you get this patient in? And then I say, yes, I can get this patient in. And then it goes to the front office. Then the front office is coming to me saying, you have no spots to schedule this patient out. So for me, it's 2 seconds to either sit there on my own computer and schedule that patient out 2 weeks ahead of time on a 20, where I'm not having to converse with the front office, or I'm sitting on the phone talking to Joyce, figuring out where I can schedule this patient.
So the challenges would be, if your schedule's full and then a new patient needs to be seen, how do we
Correct.
get him in?
I mean, I would rather Joyce call me with a full schedule and say, hey, can you fit this patient in? And I can say, yes, put them here. And I consult with Nettie and say, hey, will you watch this patient for the last 20 minutes so I can get started? But, I mean, I get where you're going.
It's a good question. Anybody got a thought on it? Dan?
You're going to get the calls to get walkdowns either way, and by having your established patients already in there, you have a clear prediction of what your forward dates look like, to where at least you know what you're starting from a little more clearly. I fall into the other trap where I schedule out 7 to 10 days, the eval gets there, and then I have to work around that eval to put my normal patients in. I'd rather work around my dailies that I know 3 weeks, history with, where I can start playing with people, shifting to PTAs and things like that. I find it far easier to shift my standard patients and maybe have some rapport with me to a PTA than to try to wedge in an eval and schedule their follow-up with a PTA and things of that nature. So I really think the walk-down phenomenon in our clinics is standard. That's what we're going to be dealing with. I'd rather have a known variable 3 weeks out than have an unknown variable what that week's going to look like anyhow. I think it's kind of a wash.